still have so many attorneys who don't believe it's legal. It is absolutely legal, but they've never seen it. It's scary. They don't understand it.
Welcome to the MEETUP interview. I am Brunno with Whiteacre Properties. Today with me, I have Meghan Aalerud. She is a real estate attorney that has been working with us for quite a while now. So today we're going to be talking with her about assignment contracts.
So yeah, I have been working with you guys for a number of years, and you guys always bring me some fun stuff, and I enjoy working with you hugely, just because you guys are a great team. I really like the investor side more. It's just more interesting. And I also feel like I'm, more with peers, talking to people who are working through deals with me versus home buyers who I'm going to just meet once.
I like the peer-to-peer thing because I used to do acquisitions, right? So I used to go to, homeowners and all that. But I like dealing with the investors as well because that's a different conversation, right?
Totally.
So to get into our conversation of tonight, when we talk wholesaling, there's also the word assignment contract. Is that a difference between wholesaling and assignment contract, or is it the same thing, or can you tell us what wholesaling really is?
Sure. It's the same. It's interchangeably used. So some people say, oh, I do a lot of wholesaling. Some people say, I do a lot of assignment of contract. What they're referring to in either case is they're taking a transaction that they have under contract, and they're going to basically find a buyer for it. Mm-hmm. So they get together with the seller, they get under contract with either an offer or a purchase and sale agreement. And at that point, Whiteacre would then go look for a buyer. So it's called wholesaling, assigning. It's the same thing, but the idea is you're now selling that contract. You have value because you brought the contract, you found it at a good price, and now you also have value because you have a network that you've spent years cultivating and grooming and keeping in your Rolodex. True. So you have the ability now to add value to something without actually doing anything to the property. Because you're going to take it, you got it for a good price, and you're going to make some money on it, and the buyer's going to have a good deal, and the seller's going to get out of a property that they need to get out of. So that's what a wholesale assignment transaction is.
I couldn't have explained it any better. That was perfect. No, that was perfect. Explain to us what it is a double close.
Yeah.
And what's just a regular assignment, and if you recommend or don't recommend double close and why.
A double closing is when Whiteacre would actually take title. So Whiteacre either through what's called an ABC pass-through or through funding it their own for a day, would take title for a day. So seller has a deed, a HUD, everything to Whiteacre. Whiteacre then goes around and sells to buyer, and everything is recorded the same day. At least that's what we'd like. You'd have to then get funding for that a lot of times. Or if the buyer's okay with it, or really if the buyer's attorney or buyer's lender's okay with it, you would try and use their money to pay you and pay the seller so that you don't have to be out any money or come with bridge funding. I highly recommend not doing that.
Okay.
Lots of reasons, but the biggest reason is it's probably going to be expensive. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to cost time in trying to explain to an end buyer attorney what it is. I still have so many attorneys who don't believe it's legal. It is absolutely legal, but they've never seen it. It's scary. They don't understand it. So there's a lot of scenarios where you have to take title. That's when you would do a back-to-back. I handle lots of them. They're very complicated, and they could cost $2,500 to $3,000 in closing fees that comes off your money. So assignments are always the way to go, in my opinion.
Guys, it is legal to do wholesaling. Mm-hmm. We do it all the time. You just heard it from a real estate attorney. It is legal. Don't worry about it.
It's
so
very
people do
legal.
it all over the country. In Massachusetts, it's also legal. Mm-hmm. We can do it. And the other thing, so would you say the double closing, sometimes people talk, all right, how about if I have, those are unicorns, but let's say I get a $150,000 assignment fee, right? Would you recommend at those higher fees to double close, or you still think assignment should be the way to go?
Well, I think that anytime you get into a double close situation, it's A, eating through your profit. It's B, riskier because it's now two closings, right? Instead of just a seller and an end buyer closing, there's now another closing. So there's a lot of, in the biggest one, the one that we run into more than really the issues I just mentioned is the end buyer attorneys. They don't always know what they're doing, and you can't get the buyer to trust you or me because I represent Whiteacre, so they're going to be suspicious. Correct. But their attorney doesn't always know how to do these deals, and so you're adding another layer. So the answer to your question is it's a business decision. It's a business decision based on how little do you want the seller or the buyer to know your spread. Now, will they? Perfect. Yes, because it's all going to be on record. Yeah. So is it worth it? It's your call.
With all the assignment agreements that you do, what do you say it's the big mistakes or pitfalls to getting assignment deals not to completion?
The biggest one I see, and it seems like a simple thing, but is interviewing your buyer. Why does this matter? It matters because you're going to rely on that buyer now to close the deal. And you have, put a lot of time into this relationship with the seller. And you want to have a good review. You want that seller to feel taken care of. You want it to go well. Because otherwise, your reputation's at stake. There's a lot of things. So you're putting a lot on a stranger. And if it's a buyer who you don't know and you don't know how to analyze whether that buyer is actually a buyer, that's a lot of risk for you. Now, what am I talking about with interview? Questions around what they intend to do.
If they've done this before.
Have you done this? How many transactions?
There you go.
Are you going to buy this cash? Oh, yes, I am. Okay, but are you actually?
Yeah.
It's okay if you use a lender. We all do it. But who's the lender? Oh, it's this guy. He always works. Okay, who's his attorney? How many assignment deals has that attorney done? Perfect. Does a lender know how to fund an assignment deal? Do they know how to, because as you know, a lot of times they lend a certain percentage of the purchase price. Are they lending on the final, on the assignment, or are they doing it on the underlying P&S? These are all the things that if you suss it out with an interview ahead of time, it doesn't come up the day before closing. So that's my biggest takeaway. I'll say it again, is interview your buyers. The other one on that same vein is grow a group of buyers you like. Work with the same people again and again.
There you go.
And have people in areas. So if you're in Dorchester, I know who I'm calling on this deal in Dorchester.
Right. You have your top 3, top 5 guys that you're like, let's go there.
Totally.
Yep. And
you know who they use for an attorney. You know who their lender is. You've closed with them. You know how it's going to go.
Correct.
And you guys, I don't feel like anytime you bring a buyer, it's sussed out. It's you know exactly what's going on. Just so you know, Meg, this is happening. This is going on. This is the lender. We've worked with them before. It's like, okay.
Here we go. Makes your life easier.
So much easier.
That's perfect. Out of your best clients, you don't have to obviously tell names.
Yep.
But what do they do so well when they're doing assignment agreements, and why they're so successful on doing that?
Yeah. Communication. Having a great relationship with your seller. You guys as one of my top clients, knowing how the seller is going to be handled. Is the seller have an attorney? Is the seller going to come here to sign? Is the seller going to come to my office? Because that's the relationship. That could be a fault line that could fall apart if that seller's not handled right. And then handling the buyer side. Those are some of the best things. The title exams, ordering those up front, like I said. Having good contracts. So you guys have been working off contracts that we've tailored over the years. But if you're brand new, making sure your contracts are correct, because each step of the way, you're then married to it. So if the offer isn't right, it's over. You're married to that offer.
That's right.
I think my biggest takeaway, as we sort of come to a close here, is if you're going to go into assignments, most people do it when they're new, to start to pad a down payment. So it's a great way to be pretty risk-free and start to take down some property assignment fees,
yeah.
Without actually having a risk of taking on the property itself.
Correct.
However, I see it even with my most experienced people in this market, where it's like, we have lots of deals, but maybe we don't want to close on all of them. I think assignments are extremely effective for both sides. Just take a deep breath, though, and have some patience with them, because they're going to be quite a ride.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So, I was going to ask you, what would you say for, new people starting, but you basically just went over, some of the steps, make sure, I guess you can cover them yourself, but I think most of the things that we talked about is, communication, have the right people, have the right, lawyers and people behind you, but also having good how do you call it? Contracts.
And contracts.
Right? Good contracts, good things that, and then a lawyer can help you with that stuff. And,
Yes.
Meg here, obviously, can be one of them.
For sure. And again, just have some patience and don't take it all so seriously, because there's going to be a lot of stops and starts. And if you're someone who is a type A, who's like,
yeah,
there's stuff that's kind of like this acorn mortgage, you're like, yeah, we finally got one. And then something stops. You just got to take a deep breath and be like, okay, what's the next step here?
Here we go.
There's another step.
We think we're going to take another 6 months to close. Now we might close next week.
Exactly.
Hey, or this week, maybe.
I mean, it's ready. So yeah,
right?
As soon as possible.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So before we wrap it up, and I say thank you to you, I want to let people know where to find you. Are you on social media, email, anything like that?
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much for having me, by the way.
My pleasure.
It's really fun. Awesome. We have offices in Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. We're in Wakefield, Massachusetts, but we really find a way to cover everywhere. My email is the best way to reach me. So my name is Meghan with an H, and then it's at avlawfirm.com. Always taking more clients, and I love to hear from people, especially with crazy deals.
Perfect. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Give us some messages that you may have or questions that you may have in the comments below. We'll try to answer them for you. But for now, good night.
Bye.